Hi. So the last time you saw both of us together, we were belting down Aero State highways in Jaisalmer on smooth and pristine roads of Rajasthan. But since then, a lot of stuff has happened. Mostly bad, because let's admit it, we are living in Kali Yuga, the era of nefarious intentions. But yeah, a lot of stuff has happened since then. I've gone bald for instance, and we have covered almost 7,000 kilometers on a long-termer super meteor. This is Anand Pandey, you're watching BBC Top Gear Mag India, and this is the star of our inaugural episode of a new series called Life Behind the Bars, where we are going to showcase how it is to live with a motorcycle over an extensive period of time. Let's get something out of the way. The Super Meteor 650, it is not a very versatile motorcycle to live with, but I still like being on it, despite the terrain, the situation, or even traffic condition, and its majestic looks are to blame. It has been around since more than 6 months or so, but still there aren't many of them out on our streets, and that is the reason why you'll always be in spotlight everywhere you pull up. If you like flying under the radar, look elsewhere. Because the Super Meteor 650, it is a flamboyant motorcycle and makes a style statement everywhere it goes. And it doesn't shy away from stating the fact that it is a flagship product from Royal Enfield. The build quality of the Super Meteor 650 is absolutely sublime. And in a surprising turn of events, we haven't faced any major issue with its build quality over the past 3 to 4 months that we have had the Super Meteor with us. And as the popular saying goes, it doesn't even mark its territory by leaving an oil mark wherever you park the motorcycle. When I said that I like being on the Super Meteor 650, did I mean that I like being on it while commuting during the everyday hustle? Yes and no. Because see, commuting on this behemoth of a motorcycle is an experience altogether. And if you want it to be a good one, take my advice and start leaving from home early. That way, you'll not only be able to beat traffic and spend some good time with this motorcycle, you'll also be able to put yourself in good books of your boss as well. At the cost of being labeled as a chapri, I don't ride to work every morning, I fly. The slightly cold breeze, the Super Meteor gobbling up kilometers after kilometers, and a scrumptious breakfast after I reach my workplace, and they wonder why my productivity is so high. However, when we get a little late to work or leaving from work, we get screwed up a little. Let me explain. The Super Meteor 650, it is an agile motorcycle, an easy motorcycle to ride, but it is also heavy. And that becomes sort of an irritation when the traffic is crawling at speeds which would even put a snail to shame. Another fact that I would like to mention about the Super Meteor's commuting ability is that you have to be on a constant lookout for other commuters as well because of the sheer size of the motorcycle. Because on umpteen occasions they have kept banging on the exhaust. While you can still get accustomed to the weight of the motorcycle, because I too have started riding the Super Meteor in traffic the way it isn't meant to. However, one major gripe that I have with particularly the tourer variant is the windscreen, because it lacks visibility, and if you're meandering your way through chock-a-block traffic with pothole-filled roads, it hampers your visibility. So to counter that, what I really do is I shift further ahead, so that gives me better leverage for the handlebar and better visibility as I can look far ahead of the windscreen to see what's really underneath the motorcycle. Now, that might make me look like a fool and not a badass, but that is a compromise I'm ready to make. That being said, when the traffic starts unclogging a little, you're back to feeling like the king of the road. You combine that agile front end with oodles of mid-range grunt, and you'll see yourself cutting through traffic like a burning sword through an ice sculpture. The Super Meteor 650, it flicks directions with a profound demeanor, doing things a cruiser definitely shouldn't. Given its low seat height and low center of gravity, it is not a very hard task to maneuver the Super Meteor in tight parking lots. You just ought to be a little more cautious while taking U-turns and plan your spot accordingly while parking the motorcycle. Sure, there have been days when I wish for a more versatile motorcycle than the Super Meteor 650 during my commutes, but on most days, the Super Meteor 650 has made me feel like a king. It is going to be a long and tiring day. Office boy, take my jacket and bring me the chair.
Okay, sir, we'll do that. Here you go, sir.
Thank you. Here, take your payment. Budget issues, guys. All right, coming back to the Super Meteor. It might make you feel like the king of the road, but the king's regime also has to face some hurdles along the way. And that brings us to the ground clearance of the Super Meteor 650. Because when Royal Enfield revealed the specifications of the Super Meteor, we were a little too skeptical because the ground clearance, it stands at a measly 130 millimeters, which is a little too low for our conditions. But I'm happy to report that I was only able to scrape its bottom on a few occasions. And those few occasions involved riding with a pillion and dealing with speed breakers that are particularly developed to brake vehicles instead of the momentum that they carry. It might clear most of the potholes that we find on our streets and most of the speed breakers with ease, but I would still suggest that you take some caution while dealing with the huge speed breakers that are out there on our famous Indian roads. It wouldn't be wrong if I say that the Super Meteor is a purpose-built motorcycle, and that purpose is to decimate miles after miles while keeping the rider in utmost comfort. But the major catch here is the cruiser format, because it allows for less suspension travel at the rear. So if you want the Super Meteor to sing happy songs and to tap its full potential, I would suggest that you stick to the good roads. It really comes into its own on smooth open roads, and even more so when they are winding, but we'll come to the handling part later on. For the international markets, which have smooth open roads, the Super Meteor is surely going to cast a magic spell with its authoritative riding dynamics and potent performance. But things are a bit challenging here in India, and with the monsoons already here, I'm already on a lookout on a more versatile motorcycle because I'll be fine arriving at my workplace drenched rather than with a severe back pain. That shouldn't take away your attention from its touring credibility, because as long as the roads are good, the Super Meteor, it is a phenomenal tourer. The 649cc parallel twin engine, it is a lovely piece of engineering and is a testimony to the fact that if you get the basics right, magic happens. It feels torquey right from the word go, and even if you're belting down at 120, 130 kilometers per hour, the Super Meteor, it remains absolutely blissful. You couple that with the comfortable riding ergonomics and the tourer variant's comfortable saddle, and you wouldn't mind spending hours in the saddle of the Super Meteor 650. The sublime fuel delivery, the grunty engine, and the sorted riding dynamics, they would take no time in sending you in a state of euphoria while you are riding the Super Meteor on Aero straight highways. Does the pillion also feel euphoric while riding on the Super Meteor? Well, on most occasions, yes. Because when I pulled up on a long-term Super Meteor, my pillion princess, she took out a deep sigh of relief. Because after years of sitting on motorcycles which are basically no pillion seat and basically touring on it, the tourer variant seat felt like a breath of fresh air and managed to impress a pain-ridden cynic like her. The rear backrest too, it provides ample support to the pillion. But the only major gripe that she has with the Super Meteor is, you guessed it, the rear suspension. Because when the roads are bad, you have to take it slow if you want to maintain a healthy relationship with your pillion. And that is the reason why we decided to go to Mahabaleshwar on one particular weekend, because we wanted to flow with the motorcycle, not hustle with it. That brings us to how this thing handles. And I'm recalling one particular instance when I first rode the Super Meteor for the very first time during the first ride review. I could definitely feel the sheer weight of the motorcycle then, because it weighs almost 241 kilograms. But as soon as we started rolling, the weight, it just freaking disappeared as the Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650 revealed its agility in a truly surprising manner. The newly introduced Showa Source USD forks up front have introduced a newfound agility to the front end as well as rigidity too. While you can definitely feel the weight of the motorcycle when you're leaning too much into a corner, what you can also feel is the stability with which it holds its line and the way it exits the corners while riding on its big fat torque curve. And that is the reason why the Royal Enfield Super Meteor, it comes really alive on smooth and winding roads. And this is the reason why I choose my weekend getaways in a very particular manner. Now that we have talked about almost all the major aspects of living with the Super Meteor, that brings us to the most important question for us Indians, kitna deti hai? So to me, the Super Meteor has returned a constant fuel economy of around 25 kilometers per liter, and if you ask me, I'm very much satisfied with how I ride it, where I ride it, and with whom I ride it. Other bits that I would really like to highlight about the Super Meteor and basically living with it is headlight performance, tire performance and service, and we'll go step by step. So the headlight performance, I'm really not a big fan of LED headlights, but I'm happy to report that the LED headlights of the Super Meteor is one of the better ones in the market. They provide good intensity and good throw. But if I had to frequently go touring on it, and that would involve basically riding in the night as well, I would definitely go with a pair of auxiliary lamps. Basically, Royal Enfield offers them as well, so I would probably go for that only. Now that brings us to the tire performance. Now the C8 Zoom tires that the Super Meteor comes short with, I have basically no complaints regarding them whatsoever. I cannot really comment on their wet grip so far because the monsoons have just arrived in Mumbai and the Super Meteor is scheduled to go back in a couple of days. But as far as their dry grip go, I have no complaints with the C8 Zoom tires whatsoever. Now that brings us to the service part. Now the Super Meteor 650 that we have with us, it has basically had two services so far. The first one was a general one and the other one was a follow-up one. So during the follow-up service, the second service basically, they found out that the rear brake pad that is completely worn out in just 5,000 kilometers or so because it gets a huge 300 mm disc brake at the back. But the major surprise here was the unavailability of spare parts even after being months since it was launched. So I had to basically wait for a week or so since the part arrived, and after that it has been a pretty smooth affair. Its exhaust note, now that is another definitive highlight for me when it comes to the overall ride experience of the Super Meteor. It sounds a little different from its 650 brothers, but it is still an evocative background score. Is that an eargasm coming out of my ears?
Oh yes, it is.
But that's about it, because apart from that, like I said, it has been a memorable experience riding the Super Meteor in every way imaginable. It does not make that much sense when it comes to Indian conditions, but when it does make sense, it will make you fall in love with it, with its refined yet authoritative character. That's about it, folks. It is time to say goodbye to you and to the Super Meteor as well. This is Anand Pandey from BBC Top Gear Mag India signing off. Do let us know in the comment section below that what do you think about our new series called Life Behind the Bars and which motorcycle would you want us to feature in the next installment. You will see me around, not us, together. That's not happening.